Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the hidden history of an incredibly simple, everyday design choice on airplanes, a choice that has literally saved countless lives. You know, have you ever been sitting on a flight, just gazing out above the clouds, and actually wondered about the shape of the window you're looking through? It's one of those things we totally take for granted. But the truth is, that specific shape was born from a terrifying mystery that completely shook the transportation world.
Okay, let's get right into this simple but honestly fascinating question. Why exactly are airplane windows always round? Think about it for a second. Everywhere else in our daily lives, our houses, our offices, our cars, windows are square or rectangular, right? It's just the standard, logical way we build things. So why do we suddenly throw that universal standard out the window, pun intended, the moment we take to the skies? It might seem like just a stylistic choice, a cool mid-century design quirk, but the real reason is purely about survival. In fact, square airplane windows once caused some of the most devastating crashes in human history. So let's uncover the story behind one of aviation's absolute most important safety features.
Section 1. The Doomed First Jets, specifically focusing on the de Havilland Comet. To understand this, we have to travel back to the early 1950s. Commercial aviation was just entering the jet age, and the de Havilland Comet was heralded as the absolute pinnacle of human engineering. And there's a really tragic irony to the comet. It had these massive advancements. It flew higher, it was way faster, and it was so much quieter than any propeller plane before it. It was the future of travel. But it carried a fatal flaw: square windows. And the craziest part? Nobody at the time thought that was dangerous. Engineers just designed them like they were building a house on the ground, totally unaware of the deadly physics they were about to unleash.
That brings us to Section 2, investigating the mid-air tragedies, which set off an incredibly deadly aviation mystery.
The celebration of the brand new jet age definitely didn't last long. Soon after the Comet entered commercial service, a terrifying trend began. Several of these beautiful state-of-the-art aircraft suddenly broke apart in mid-air. And imagine the sheer terror here. There were no explosions. There was no bad weather. There was absolutely zero warning. The pilots didn't radio in any mechanical failures or anything like that. The planes were just cruising along in clear blue skies, and then, in a fraction of a second, they disintegrated. This total lack of evidence created absolute panic because, well, if they couldn't figure out why these comets were just falling out of the sky, the entire future of commercial jet travel was going to be permanently grounded.
Investigators knew they had to solve this, so they launched one of the most intense forensic investigations in history. We're talking months spent endlessly searching for clues. And because the planes had broken apart over the ocean, they actually had to send teams out to dredge the water, pulling fragmented pieces of the doomed aircraft right off the seafloor. Once they finally got all that mangled wreckage reassembled in a massive hangar, they performed extremely rigorous, detailed pressure tests to see exactly where the metal was failing. And the crucial point they discovered, it shocked the entire aviation world. When they traced the failure points back to their origin, every single piece of evidence pointed to the exact same spot. The catastrophic mid-air breakups were all starting at the corners of those seemingly innocent square windows. The massive structural failure of an entire airliner started as a microscopic flaw right at a 90-degree angle. But to really grasp why a tiny corner could bring down a massive jet, we need to understand the physics of high-altitude flight.
So let's move to Section 3, the science of metal fatigue, and why corners are so incredibly dangerous.
Up where jets fly, the environment is just super hostile to human life. Let's break the physics down simply. Because the outside air at 30,000 feet is way too thin and cold for us to breathe comfortably, the airplane's cabin has to artificially pressurize. Think of the airplane cabin kind of like a giant metal balloon. Step 1. The cabin pressurizes and pumps full of air after takeoff so we can survive. Step 2. It depressurizes as it comes back down for landing. Because of this, the metal body of the plane actually expands outward as it goes up and contracts as it comes down. Step 3. This cycle of expansion and contraction repeats thousands upon thousands of times over the lifespan of a single aircraft. Now, this constant stretching and shrinking introduces the true villain of our story, which is metal fatigue. In a metal tube that's expanding, pressure needs to flow smoothly. But those sharp, square corners of the comet's windows, they acted like roadblocks. They concentrated all that immense stress from the structural expansion right into those tight 90-degree angles, creating tiny, microscopic cracks. With every single flight, as the plane expanded and contracted, those cracks inevitably grew just millimeter by millimeter, until eventually the cracks hit a tipping point, and the metal violently tore apart in an instant.
Which leads us to our final section, Section 4, a simple, life-saving solution that ended up redesigning aviation. To stop this terrifying process of metal fatigue from literally tearing jets out of the sky, engineers realized they had to completely rethink window shapes from the ground up. And the solution they found was elegantly simple. Since a square window acts like a giant stress magnet, they completely removed the focal point by using rounded corners and oval shapes. With a curved design, the atmospheric pressure and tension don't get bottled up in a sharp corner. Instead, the stress seamlessly slides around the curve, spreading evenly across the aircraft's entire body.
This turned out to be about way more than just safety, too. Without sharp corners, those deadly fatigue cracks are incredibly unlikely to form in the first place. But this simple curve also provides fantastic secondary benefits. It gives us a stronger overall aircraft structure, way better resistance to extreme atmospheric pressure changes, a significantly longer lifespan for the planes, and, as a result, much lower maintenance costs for the airlines. It is honestly just a brilliant engineering win-win that was born from absolute disaster.
It's a tragic engineering lesson that changed aviation forever. So, what should you really take away from all this? Well, the next time you're sitting in a window seat, looking out of that beautiful round piece of glass at the clouds down below, just remember that it's not there for style. That rounded shape is the direct result of a very hard-learned lesson. It's a reminder that in aviation, safety rules are often written in tragedy. And learning from those doomed square windows has fundamentally helped make modern air travel one of the safest forms of transportation in the world today. So what other everyday mysteries would you like explained? Once you know the deadly history behind something so simple, it really makes you look at the engineered world around us a little bit differently, doesn't it? The world is completely full of these hidden histories hiding right in plain sight. Next time you fly, take a look around the cabin. What other life-saving secrets are just sitting there waiting to be noticed? Let us know what everyday engineering mystery you'd like us to crack next. Keep observing, keep questioning, and we'll see you next time as we dissect another fascinating topic right here on This Explainer.